Hello wargamers, VallumDominatio here again with Mark Faust. This time we have a special treat for all of you today. Mark, why don't you show us what you've been working on?
Hey, I got a gaming table. No more playing on wood terrain. Well, I finally bought one of the Realm of Battle boards from GW. I figured for me it works really well. Just the way it gets down to the compact size and you put it all away is perfect. Because we don't got a basement, so everything I have is in my room or somewhere in the house. So it's good for me because it stacks up to about, I don't know, like 8 inches tall, 9 inches tall, when it's all put together in one of these squares, like width and height. So it works out pretty good. I went over to the local GW and picked one up. I was talking to the guy at Worcester. He said, "Oh, I can help you with you one." I said, "Yeah, that's fine." So I've never done a table before. It's a lot of dry brushing. It's pretty simple, but it's different than just dry brushing, you know, models, because you're working in such a small area and such a smaller brush. Basically, I set it up like this where I was painting it. I primed them all one at a time, primed them Chaos Black with black primer. I think usually it's like one can will do 2 tiles, so it was like 2 3/4 cans to do the whole thing. I just had a little bit of one left. And then I took Nagaroth Night, which is this really dark purple GW paint, and I took a pretty big brush. I don't think I have one, but they're like the regular painting brushes. I think it was like a 2-inch wide brush. So these are brushes you buy at like Home Depot or Lowe's. And did the Nagaroth Night over the whole entire board, dry brush. And that's when you see the kind of darker purple over the whole board. Let that dry for a little while. Then I did, I don't know if it's Gene Steele purple or Gaunt purple. It's some Tyranid, and then it's like a very bright kind of pastel purple almost. And I took another dry brush and dry brushed over the dark purple with light purple, a lighter dry brush. But then it kind of made the parts the purple highlighted pop, and it highlighted even more. Then I went in and did the blues. You can see the blues over here on the rocks on the edge, and on these flat rocks over here and over here, and on the rocks over here as well. I went and did, I don't remember the colors. It was 4 pretty bright blues to begin with. The brightest, I got it all put away, but it was a fairly bright blue to begin with. But I went to a very bright blue, like almost I guess you call it a sky blue. I don't know what paint it was. I know one was.
It's like the new ice blue, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it was the new ice blue. That was the brightest one I did. That was the last highlight on just the edges of all the brushes.
Man, we are so out of tune with the new paints because we were so used to the old ones. I mean, honestly.
And they've changed them what? How many? 3 times in the last?
I think it's the 3rd time, yeah, at least.
That's about 4 years, maybe not even 3 years. You know?
I would say 3, maybe 4 years.
Yeah. So that did the rocks, and that way I had the blues on the rocks that contrasted the purple on the board. Then also what I did in certain patches on the board before I did any of these reds, I did a little bit of the, what do you call it, the medium blues kind of in the middle of the 4 of them, and little spots of it on the board. You can kind of see it.
Is it kind of like Altdorf Guard blue, or is it?
I think it was, yeah. Well, these are more of the blues I did, but there's actually little spots you can see where I did a little bit of blue here and here.
See them.
And what that does is that'll help tie the board together and kind of make it different colors, so it's not just all purple.
It gives you a medium between the blues and the purples and the reds.
Exactly. And then for the red, I did the same thing. You'll see there's little tiny spots besides the
little patches here and there
of reds you'll see on the board.
I never noticed this until after we opened the windows.
Yeah, and fortunately, I have pretty good natural lighting when it's daytime. This light doesn't really give a lot of light at all. But in the store, even in my room where I have the nice fluorescent lighting, you can see it really well.
Yeah.
But no, like right now, me and Greg are looking at this, and we really can't see it that well. When we look down the camera, and it does look.
Oh yeah, on the camera it looks fantastic.
To the naked eye, we're like, man, you can't see anything.
Yeah, it looks really dark to the human eye, but when you're on an HD camera, yeah, you can see every little nuance and detail that was added to this board.
Hard to pick them out.
I mean, the viewers look at this. I mean, without the glare from the window, but look at this. This is fantastic.
And it was really easy. You could go into a lot more detail, and you could do much more than dry brush, and you can actually paint them and do highlights and do washes or whatever.
I'm sure a lot of the folks that go to their local GW will testify that their boards are really good quality.
Oh yeah, and I like them because they're made of plastic. I mean, it's pretty pricey, and I spent, I don't know.
It's usually like $200-something.
It's $290 for the boards. It does come with a carrying case and everything. I think I spent about like $380 with everything. That's the primer, the paints, the brushes, which I didn't get from GW. But it was probably maybe like $350, $380. I'll have to look at the receipt. That's for everything, everything from start to finish. But then with the what do you call it? The pits over here, the skull pits. I did those like a glowing red almost. You can see it better over here. I took, what was it? I think it's Wazdaka Red, which is the base, all dry brush again, but heavier. Evil Sun Scarlet, and then what's that really orange one?
It's like the new Blazing Orange, isn't it?
No, it's like a reddish orange. Wazdaka Red, Evil Sun Scarlet, and Wild Rider Red.
That was it.
Wild Rider Red it looks much more orange to the naked eye, but it's more red than orange. And that was so I took Wazdaka Red, pretty heavy over the whole thing. Then I took Evil Sun Scarlet and just did more inside, brighter inside, like inside these crevices where all the skulls are. Then I did Wild Rider Red, pretty much just on the skulls and on a few of the inner rocks. And that almost gives it a glow effect, because it's brighter in the center. What you're trying to recreate is where the light is emanating out from, which is the center of it. So it's brighter in the center part and darker in the outer part. So when you're doing that, you can almost go in a circular motion and kind of paint outward towards the edge. So yeah, but it turned out pretty cool. Now I'm just glad we got a nice board to play on. Playing on a wood table. So it's okay, but I was going to get a mat to put down for it, like grass or some kind of desert terrain.
Mm-hmm.
This is so much nicer. So then you know exactly where the board edges are.
Yeah, it's true. We don't have to use dice
Measure
or
out, books and dice and tape measures.
that just turns into a very ugly and cluttered board.
Yeah, but it turned out pretty cool. Now these are my Necrons I'm working on, so I got a bunch of them. They got a long way to go.
Actually, yeah, I got a recap with our viewers. Over the last, 6 months, you have sold your original entire Necron army, minus a few things.
Yeah, I kept some of the warriors, some of the Necron Lord and Overlord. I got a new Overlord over here. Yeah, I got rid of most. I didn't make money on it, which is the reason I sold it. So I was going and doing other stuff. So that's really the reason I sold it, because it was basically an offer I couldn't refuse. An offer I couldn't refuse.
An offer you couldn't refuse.
So anyway, I wound up picking up a lot of stuff. What I'm going to do now, I have my Chaos Space Marine army. We did that a while ago, the Nurgle army. We did that the other day. We showed you guys that. And I want to try to have several armies that I like at 1,500, 2,000 points.
So that way you can easily play a large size game.
Yeah,
and still
be bored of it.
Exactly. And you don't have to worry about storage for all your other models that you will not be able, not going to be able to use unless you're playing Apocalypse.
It's one of those things where I never got to use them. I used them once a year, like that. It just wasn't worth having to take up all that space.
And we hardly ever play Apocalypse anymore because we can't find the time or the place to do so.
Yeah, the only thing I'm thinking, maybe what I'll do is down the road, is I might get one or two more of these sets and paint it up the same. And then we can do it in the garage, on the floor.
There you go.
What's really nice is with these, I can attest to it, my buddy Ben, he's a very big guy. Not fat, but very big and muscular. And he has them set up in his house, he walks across them. And I'm going to pull this up, let me see. They're actually ribbed underneath. They have a structure under there.
Yeah, show the viewers what you got. There you go.
So it has, all that ribbing will give it a lot of structure. The reason they don't have it on the corners on all the boards is actually because you can put little clips in there to clip them together, but it's not a big deal. You can glue them in and stuff and they fit in there, then you can clip them together, but I just put them next to each other. It's easier that way.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they're pretty cool. I like them. We still got to get a game played on them, but yeah, so this is the 1,500 point list I'm working on.
Well, we'll cover that on a different day.
Yep.
For now, this is Mark's fantastic new board. I am very excited to see how a battle will turn out on it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it'll just make any army sitting on top of it look lively and lively. Just looking at the Necrons on top of the board makes them stand out.
Oh yeah, and that's what I was going for too, because I kind of designed it to be a Necron-like board, much more darker colors, and
sort of like a Necron Tomb World, right?
Yeah. What I'd really like to do down the road is get another board or two of this, and then I wanted to build a Necron Tomb complex. And I actually wanted to make it so I'd have 2 more flat tiles over here, and then I'd have a big, you know, like entrance to a tomb. I'm talking something so if like I took these 2 flat tiles and had 2 more on the end of this board, I'd basically have it from probably about halfway there to halfway there, and have this huge entrance to an underground tomb. What I really wanted to do was make 2 other boards that went further and further into the tomb, and as you got further in, there'd be more and more stuff, you know. But what I really wanted, like Greg can attest to this, we did this in Minecraft actually. Remember the Necrons in their little stasis tombs?
Yeah.
I actually wanted to take a whole bunch of warriors, and as you get into the first one, about halfway in, just make the walls lined with warriors and stasis tombs. I did have a pretty cool idea for that. I was actually going to take the dice boxes, I don't know if you've ever seen the dice we use, like Chessett's dice, and take those boxes, put them in there, and move an every warrior's head to the top, and then build walls around it so it looks like they're kind of floating in a stasis tomb.
Yeah, that would be pretty slick, man.
Down the road, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, you know.
It's good enough for now. We'll get some games in.
Well, you know, this is enough to settle us until we can get another board or 2 and build this tomb complex, because that's eventually going to turn into a large APOC game, no problem.
Oh yeah, and I think that's why what I might do is do them side, you know, long ways. So have the board like this, and then 2 more.
You know what would be really cool? If there was this large chasm being separated by a number of bridges.
That'd be pretty cool too. Yeah, that wouldn't be that hard to do.
No, I mean, that would be pretty simple considering.
Yeah, I'd probably just build the bridges out of foam or something. Because they wouldn't really be like, you know, wooden or suspension bridges. They'd just be a straight stone bridge, you know.
Right, or even like the metal bridges.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah.
If we wanted to get more techie, but that's, like I said, down the road, which we'll take care of at a later point in time.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, Wargamers, this is fantastic.
Really not that hard to do. I mean, I only spent probably with priming and doing all the dry brushing like 3 hours on the entire table, and from start to finish or painting it. Once the priming actually takes the longest. I mean, to be honest, it probably took. You know, with the weather and with having to wait for it to dry, I mean, I had to wait overnight, so it really only took me, you know, like an hour to prime all, but I had to wait for it all to dry. So then the next day I did the dry brushing in about 2 hours. And that was at the local GW, because it's best when you're doing the dry brushing to have it set up, you know, had the actual table set up, so when you're dry brushing around the edges and everything, it'll kind of match. So, keep it consistent. Yeah, but it was fun. You know, I just want to use it now. It should be fun to use.
And just for our Wargamers reference, when Mark finds the colors of the paints he used to paint this, I'll post it on the video or in the description, and they give you a list of ascending from dark to bright.
Yeah.
So that way, if Wargamers want to mimic this on their own game boards, they're more than welcome to.
Yeah. And then one other thing with the rocks. If you look, I did kind of go into the crevices. You can see where the blue is all along the edge, but when you're painting it, you also want to paint into those crevices sticking in, and it'll kind of tie it all together. You can see it over here too, where it's not blue over here, but it's blue where those crevices stick out.
Yeah, you can see that on the camera.
Then another thing, I'm going to hopefully finish them up today. I have a lot more craters, but I'm going to paint the craters and probably the buildings to match.
Yeah,
so I already started painting the buildings green, but I don't know exactly.
Well, it's like you said, man. You're gonna try and tie this whole board together, including all the terrain.
Yeah. So it should be cool when it's all done.
All right, Wargamers. Well, I hope you enjoyed this special tree with Mark again. Look forward to seeing a video with this new board in a bat rep. So, all right, Wargamers, you have a good one, and I'll see you later.
See you.